And then we're good to go. Okay. Part number 3, questions, Q&A time. Let's do it. So tips on displacing a fully powered Symmetra from King of the Hill map. Step 1, have a flanker. Go and find the shield generator. Like once a Symmetra is set up, she usually has a shield generator. If it's a teleporter, you need to worry a little less. If it's a shield generator, priority 1 for your Genji, Tracer, whatever. Go find the fucking shield generator and kill it. There is no higher priority. If you're playing Tracer, build up a pulse bomb, throw a pulse bomb on it, don't piss around, just kill it, get rid of it. Pulse bomb, very much worth trading. Do not try and engage onto her territory without first starting to clear shit out. If you cannot get to the shield generator for whatever reason, like if she puts it on the point, for example, it can actually be a little bit difficult to remove. Just take it methodically and take it step by step. So understand that she is going to have shield, like she's going to have a turret set up in the entrances. If you clear out those turrets and she cannot, and you are still fighting in that general area, she cannot set them up again, or she's going to try and set them up again, so you can punish her for doing that. So you have these windows of opportunity to basically shut her down and slow her down. So just take it step by step. If you try and do it all in one go, you're playing into the Symmetra's advantage. Like if you push in super hard and everyone runs through 6 turrets, someone is probably going to die on the way in. Symmetra is going to be stood waiting for you with the biggest fucking grin on her face, puts an orb through most of your team, then holds left mouse button and kills everyone. They have ultimates probably ready to go because they won the first team fight, so they'll have the advantage of that, and so it can really compound itself over time, where you'll just get these very, very distinctive losses where they'll just use one ultimate, for example. You won't have any, and so they'll win the team fight. Then maybe you'll come through and you'll have an ultimate, and then you'll win it. Other than that, if it's really struggling, then you can try and just save ultimates, lose a couple of fights, make them burn their ultimates as best you can, then use a couple of big ones and just try and clear as fast as you can. But you really need to make sure that those turrets are cleared. Priority number 1, like after shield generator's gone down, is people like Lucio, especially Lucios of the world. If you're playing Lucio and there's a Symmetra on the enemy team, one of your highest priorities is during the push, speed boost in, turn 180 degrees, look up, right click where the turrets are. You will probably kill 3 of them. It's the fastest clear I know to get rid of turrets. It's so good. You've got to be doing it. Lucio is very, 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 very good at clearing Symmetra turrets. If you're playing Genji, Tracer, Pharah, have access to flank routes, absolutely feel free to take those flank routes. Sniping off turrets is a very, very good use of your time, because it means that Symmetra has to rebuild them. You can rebuild them quite slowly if you just keep picking them off, and you'll also probably have to peel away and set turrets up in other locations, which is moving turrets away from the front line, which is good, means your team can push in more. Just be very careful about sort of engaging Symmetra directly, because if she gets in range of you, then you're going to have a bad time. Genji especially suffers a lot against Symmetra. Tracer suffers less, but Tracer is more vulnerable to sort of just getting caught in turret traps. So to me, it's just being methodical, sort of breaking it down. Okay, they have a shield generator. We should probably look to get rid of that before doing anything super aggressive. So Tracer, go and kill that, or someone go and kill that. If you don't have that option, then okay, the push has to come through methodically, where we push in, someone clears turrets, first priority. Then we can heal up again a little bit. Then we can start forcing a proper engagement. Then we can start looking for picks. Then we can bait out ultimates and play it methodically. If you try and rush it, it will always fail. Can I one-trick Roadhog after the nerf? Yeah, you can. But you have to play him differently, and it'll be a lot harder. Be way harder, actually. So, Roadhog 1 tricks of the world, beware. Roadhog after nerf has basically one of his playstyle options removed. Like, the nerf to Roadhog is removing his playstyle option. So Roadhog, in my mind, has 2 playstyles. 2 distinctive playstyles. Let's draw King's Row. Okay, this is the first choke point. Nice bus over here that I think slants this way. Okay, and then the statue over here, and then there's like flank routes and all sorts of stuff. And so Roadhog has sort of 2 playstyles. Let's say that people are stood. Let's say that your Reinhardt is stood here. Reinhardt. The Roadhog has kind of 2 options. He can either just stand here and then try and shell at anything coming in and just stay with his team. Anything he hooks is going to be pulled out of position. He's going to be pulled into your team, and so you can kill them very easily. No matter pretty much what you hook, it's probably going to die. So if their Reinhardt, for example, drops his barrier for whatever reason, or if you find an opportunity to get like a Winston, you probably pull him in, get a kill on him, no problem. Very, very strong. Roadhog can also just play around over here, and maybe as their Reinhardt pushes in, so their Reinhardt puts his barrier up here, as people are coming in, you can try and get a hook into the backline, you can flank aggressively, hook people in, get a kill, no problem, get picks. This playstyle is dying. This playstyle is going to be very ineffective without any support. You have to have someone else with you. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to pull someone in, you're going to hook them, you're going to shoot them, and then they're going to get healed, they're going to use an ability, they're going to do something that will stop you killing them in many instances. The Ana will heal grenade them, the Mercy will pick them up. Whatever will happen, it's much less likely that you're going to get a kill. This playstyle in particular is extremely strong for climbing, I'd say, until like Master. Even then, people will still struggle with a good flanking Roadhog and a Roadhog that lands hooks reliably. It's very, very powerful even there. This Roadhog style is extremely strong and is being nerfed. This Roadhog style is actually probably going to be okay. So if you're fine as playing like a sort of a normal tanky bruiser Roadhog more than the flanking Roadhog, you're going to be fine. If you are used to playing a flanking Roadhog, I think you're going to struggle. I think you're going to run into many instances where you hook someone, you don't land the perfect shot, or you just, you know, they're one of the characters that is now can't be killed. People are going to get away, people are going to heal up, people are going to come back and they're going to kill you. They're going to know that your hook's down, they're going to run in, they're just going to mince you. If you play more in the team, you'll be fine. What would be a good team comp to build around Symmetra? I suggest a Mercy and a Zarya personally. So defensively, Mercy is exceptionally good. Although, actually, I wouldn't say exceptionally good. Mercy is okay. The issue with like Mercy Symmetra in my mind has always been that they kind of overlap. So if you're playing with a shield generator, then it's fine. If you're playing with a teleporter, then the overlap is real. So the problem with that is the teleporter is very, very good if you have, if like people are dying one by one. Because Mercy's not going to want to res that, people just come back out through the teleporter, it feels good, man. Then when 6 people die, Mercy comes in, picks up the res, gets everyone back up. So it can kind of work, but I've always preferred Ana Symmetra. You are lacking a lot of defensive ultimate power, but the shield generator or the teleporter makes up for it. And I think that works just fine. You have enough healing to be able to sustain through it. And like, if Symmetra gets in, she's also a nano boost target. Like, she's actually a really strong nano boost target. Do you think she's hard to remove without it? Just wait until she's doing like 160 DPS or something ridiculous. 100, no, actually more than that. 180 DPS. That's insane. And she will have 50% damage reduction as well. She's kind of scary for nano boosted. These horns, not just for show. So yeah, like, she's potentially available for that. The problem with Symmetra Zenyatta is that you just don't have healing output, so people will just die and you'll just lose. Lucio Symmetra is more of an offensive team lineup, and I wouldn't recommend it on defense. It just makes the Symmetra stronger because Symmetra's weakness is that she doesn't do well at sort of long mid-range, so Lucio speeds that up and closes the gap. You could, in theory, run a triple support with Symmetra. If you're running Lucio plus Ana or Lucio plus Mercy would work fine. You could even run Lucio Zenyatta and just run Symmetra at people, I guess, but again, if the enemy team has any kind of sense and just plays like carefully and just understands that you're just going to run at them, doesn't panic at the Symmetra storming them, just kills her, you will just lose. So yeah, tricky. How many different hero is it reasonable to learn at the same time? I would generally say like try and focus on two or three. Usually generally the focus, and like try and have one that you're mainly focusing on, so try and get that hero every game. So if you're trying to learn how to play Tracer, for example, anytime King of the Hill comes in, just try and lock in Tracer and play Tracer there. Or if you're playing on offensive, play Tracer. If you're playing defensive, you might want to vary it up a little bit. And then you might be learning another hero on the side, you might be just working on a hero. You might have a hero that you're already comfortable with, so then you pick that hero when the hero you're trying to learn isn't necessarily working. So then you have like a fallback plan. I used to give this advice a lot when I was playing TF2. If someone ever asked me, you know, oh, how do you get good at sniping? The answer I would always give was learn something else first. Because then you always have a fallback plan for when sniper doesn't work, so you can swap to it and just function. Because if you pick sniper and it's like you can't play anything else, you can literally be a complete dead weight. And you will have games where your aim is just not doing well, so you won't be able to play it. So I generally say like 2 or 3 is ideal. One hero that you're mainly focusing on, then just a couple of things on the side that you're just sort of letting bubble and percolate. If you don't play certain heroes, you will get worse at them. It just happens. You forget things. Stuff slips out your mind. You forget, oh, in this matchup, this kind of doesn't work out. 1 versus 1 is also a very good way of practicing. So anytime that hero comes up in the 1 versus 1, you can just pick them. And even if it's not an ideal matchup, like don't fret about losing in 1 versus 1s. Use it to experiment. Use it to practice matchups that might not be favorable to you. So if you want to learn how to play Tracer, for example, just pick Tracer every time she pops up in a 1 versus 1. You could probably win any matchup with Tracer potentially. It's just figuring out how to do it. Don't be afraid if you want to become the world's greatest Hanzo, the world's greatest Hanzo wouldn't be afraid to pick Hanzo in 1 versus 1. So pick him. work on it. If you want to play Widowmaker, pick Widow. Like, just pick these matchups and then see how it goes. And you'll learn very quickly, okay, this doesn't work, this does work. How should you try and push through a choke with SYM turrets as Reinhardt, assuming your team can't works much better with Ryan than switching to Winston? So first thing I try and do is I tell people, guys, like, clear the turrets. I'm going to put, like, we're going to push in, clear the turrets. And I'll usually say specifically, like, Lucio, clear turrets. Or, like, Farah, just clear the turrets. Zarya, for example, as well, clear turrets. All very good heroes at doing it. Splash damage, reliable splash damage is ideal. And the idea isn't that you walk in and then don't just, like, turn around. Because what you're doing then is you're blocking one damage source and training it for the rest of their team. And if they have a Roadhog or anything with, like, a Shadow, for example, bad. So don't turn around. To me, the ideal is you walk in, stand past the turrets, and you'll have the turrets shooting at you. Make sure there's enough space for your team to get in, let the team clear it, and then start walking further forward. Because you can't even move with the turret shooting at you anyway. So there's no point trying to push. Don't be afraid to peel back as well after the turrets have been cleared. But yeah, like, traps to avoid, I would say, is charging through the turrets. Because what ends up happening is you'll charge through, the enemy team will just back away, you'll end up charging into the enemy team's backline, like Volskaya Industries is a good example. So, like, Truck, this is Coke. So what will usually end up happening on Volskaya is you will end up just charging, and you'll end up sort of somewhere over here. And then the enemy team will just kill you. And the rest of your team tries to follow, but they just get killed by the turret. And all the team's DPS is coming through here. So you can't afford to push through there. So charging, I think, is a no-no. I think it's a big mistake to charge. Just push through, try and stand about here, let people follow in behind you while the turrets shoot you, and then clear out the turrets effectively. Signing someone is always going to be the best way to do it. Lucio, please. Like, Lucio, go through right-click, and Lucio is really good at it again. His DPS is not huge, so it's not going to really change the battle, and the best contribution is picking off turrets. I'm a projectile DPS main who got himself a new account to one-trick main a tank, as in Reinhardt or Winston. Do you have a good general advice for you? Just try and lock in rot. Like, my advice is start with Reinhardt, because I think a lot of what you'll learn with Reinhardt is going to apply to A, not only the other heroes you play, because learning how to play around Reinhardt is very important, but B, it will also probably teach you a lot about Winston, what works and what doesn't. Because Winston is basically a lot more aggressive than Reinhardt. You will see quite often very aggressive Winstons just come in and land in front of you, and then you'll just, like, hit them once or twice, bring your barrier back up, and the rest of your team will just kill. They're not that scary. And so you'll learn very quickly, okay, as Winston, like, I can't do this, I can't do that. You'll learn a lot about general game flow as well, so I think Reinhardt is just a good place to start. And honestly, I would just avoid saying one trick. I would just say, just trying to learn tanks, and then you're opening yourself up to, oh, okay, on this map, like, if you have Tracer, Genji on your team and you're playing King of the Hill, sure, pick Winston, play Winston, see what works, see what doesn't, try things, experiment. If something doesn't work, if you jump in and instantly die, just go, why didn't that work? And don't go, because the fucking Zarya didn't barrier me, because quite often, like, pro-level Winstons don't play with a Zarya, so what are you doing wrong that's getting you killed where the pros survive? Like, how is that working out? What's happening there? How are you positioning yourself? How are you doing that? And experiment around that. So I'd say just, like, avoid one trick. And yeah, just play, like, Reinhardt and Winston and just focus on playing those tanks when you can get them. And if you're playing, like, if someone locks in Reinhardt, don't necessarily have to be that afraid of locking in Winston as well. It can kind of work. I'd say it's a little bit cross purposes. You might be better, like, what I would say if you really want to improve super fast is, I would say, like, if you're a projectile DPS main that wants to learn tanking, focus on Reinhardt. Like, your first focus should be Reinhardt. Your second focus should be Winston. W. And then your third focus should be Hog. And I'd say, like, if you cannot lock in Reinhardt, or Winston is more applicable to the situation, you pick between these two. If you cannot get these two, try and get this one. And then just try and play around and seeing what works, what doesn't with these heroes. And you'll find that they have a lot of overlap in terms of positioning, in terms of, like, Roadhog is looking to punish these two heroes. So you will see you will learn what doesn't work by learning how to make Roadhog work. Because you'll learn, oh, if the Winston does this and I'm Roadhog, I just kill the Winston. Then if you then reverse that knowledge, and when you're playing Winston, you go, there's a Roadhog there. If I jump at him and he's got hook up, I'm just going to fucking die. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to hold my jump, or I'm going to try and position it, so I'm going to wait for his hook, or I'm going to bait his hook, or I'm going to find an angle where I can get into his back line, where he might have to get to me. There are options available to do that. So yeah. Will you ever run out of questions? No. I hope not. I like answering questions. People like asking them. I like answering them. As one that used to be a one trick, this is boring, and you need to tank a lot of salt even if you do good. Yeah, to me, like I said in sort of my 2 paragraphs, to me you're missing out a lot of Overwatch if you just one trick a hero. Like, I don't like if you on this profile even. And the quick play stats are mostly Gengu, but if you look, like, pretty much every competitive season for me has this sort of bias to it. Heavy Ana bias, usually a little bit Reinhardt, Lucio for secondary support, and Soldier. Season 3 probably very similar. More Soldier than Lucio, but you get the idea. And so I am a support main, but I also play a lot of tank, an Ana main, primarily. But I also flex onto other things quite often. Then Season 1 was mostly Mercy, because Ana barely existed back then. And so, like, having this focus on a single hero isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's understanding, okay, someone else locked in Ana, what do I play? I'll play this, and I'll make this work. Especially my win percentages. My Roadhog's not great. Zenyatta's fucking god tier. But yeah, like, this is how most people's graphs look. Like, most people look like this. You'll have one focus, then you'll have a couple of other heroes that's sort of creeping up on it, but mostly you'll play this single. So this isn't one tricking, and to me this is the fun way of playing Overwatch. You have one hero that is your go-to and you feel comfortable on, and then you have other heroes that you can sort of branch out towards. Go with that. Let's see. If you're a Symmetra and there is a Pharah, what do? You focus on other things in a Symmetra way. The only things you can do if the Symmetra, like, that is a good point to swap off Symmetra, because you cannot stop the Pharah just wrecking all your shit. So if the pharmacy is a big problem and you're playing Symmetra and you are not shutting down anything else either, yeah, you swap off Symmetra. You cannot do anything. The only cool trick I know to stop Pharahs is when they barrage, just throw a barrier at them, and what will happen is as the barrier gets closer and closer, you can actually see the fear in Pharah's eyes growing as the barrier gets nearer and nearer, and then she starts taking splash damage, and then she kills herself. It's pretty spectacular. But yeah, you swap. If you are still being effective, like if the Pharah is still a problem, but you're killing a lot of other things, or like they have a Pharah, like for example, if they have Pharmacy and a Genji, you're shutting down Genji every single time he comes in. And sure, stay in, but just stay the fuck away from Pharah. It's not a fight you can win. It's not a fight you can engage, so don't bother with it. If you're trying to engage the Pharah, something's fucking up, because you can't win that fight. Symmetra's ice cream flavor? She'd probably be like one of these electric raspberry ones, wouldn't she? She also has the best sitting emote in the game, by the way. How sassy she is. Love it. I think the sitting emote's better with the other skins. Make it look like she's leaning against chat. There you go. A flank for chat. I get frustrated with one tricks. I had a Reaper one trick in low gold who dropped from plat already this season. He refused to swap. Before I finished my sentence that far, I believe he was a top 500 Reaper, but we had no hit scan for the far end, but as a result, we lost them handedly. How do I approach these situations better? You try and appeal to reason, don't appeal to frustration. Best thing I can say. So, this happens. I'd say this probably happens a lot around Gold and Platinum. First things first, out of my own personal opinions, if you are one-tricking a hero and you are in Gold and Platinum, you are not ready to one-trick a hero. This is literally sort of my opinion on the matter, but one-tricking is something you do after you've achieved a certain level of mastery of the game. If you can hit Grandmaster reliably on your comfort picks, that's when you start swapping, I'd say. That's when you can start considering doing one-tricking. People doing the alternative route of getting to Grandmaster through one-tricking and then sort of trying to diversify, making life so much harder for themselves. So much harder for themselves. Is when they do start to diversify, they'll be horrifically out of their depth, unless they're playing a hero with a lot of crossover to other heroes. And yeah, like if you can get to Grandmaster playing McCree, you can probably do it with a number of other DPSs. Same may be true for Soldier, might be harder. You'll probably drop down to more Masters. But if you're doing it on Symmetra, Mercy, I'd say even like Pharah, you're going to struggle to sort of stay at that high level. Just because Pharah doesn't have a huge amount of crossover. But the supports in particular, I'd say outside of maybe Zenyatta, but even then Zenyatta has a very unique playstyle. Reinhardt's another example, Winston might be another. Like, you will lack in mechanics. And to me, achieving mechanical mastery is the best way to improve at the game. Therefore, the goal you should always be striving for is solid core mechanics and then building up knowledge around that. Not necessarily doing it the other way around. So, how do you deal with this? Try and appeal to reason. First and foremost, just saying that we are getting smashed by the Pharah. You're playing a Reaper. We cannot do anything at the moment. We are losing quite badly. Doesn't matter how well you do on the Reaper, we are going to lose. You are not going to learn anything. You're not going to do anything. Why not swap? And if he says no, then you go, okay, like, enjoy the loss, I guess. Like, you are part of the reason why we are losing. Do not say that you are the only reason why we're losing, because that gives him an opening to say, like, it always tilts me when people say, oh yeah, you're the sole reason why we're fucking losing this game. We'd be winning with that. It's not necessarily the case. Like, unless everyone is playing perfectly and that person isn't, that's not true. My mindset is always, and this is sort of a destructive mindset almost with me, where I don't let disadvantages into my head. And that can actually be a negative at times, where, you know, oh, if I play well enough, I can outplay all of these people. I can 1 versus 6 them, which just patently isn't true. So I very much have that mindset quite often with games, and it can be quite frustrating to deal with. Yeah, like, just trying to appeal to reason. If you do start finding yourself getting frustrated, just let it go. Like, understand that you've got to sort of accept the fact that you have confirmation bias because you see it on your team. So you see that, oh, I've got this Reaper and we're telling him to swap and he's not swapping. What you don't see is that when you're playing against an enemy team and they have a Reaper, they're all telling him to swap and he's not, and you win the game, then yeah. So just trust in the statistics. If you play enough, it balances out eventually, unless you're a massive outlier. If you only play, and this is why I always tell people as well to play more, because instances like this don't matter as much anymore. They become statistical anomalies. And it just bounces out. So every time that you win because you have a Torbjorn main on your team, well, or every time you lose because you have a Torbjorn main, words. Anytime you lose because you have a Torbjorn main on your team, they will also lose because they have a Torbjorn theirs. So it equals out eventually. Same thing is true for like suicide Reinhardts. Same is true for people intentionally throwing or trolling. Same is true for toxic people. It balances out. How do you feel about Winston as an anti-Symmetra? Very positive. If Symmetra is not charged, Winston wins the 1 versus 1. And Winston just clears out all the turrets in a second. And honestly, like, do not be afraid to just walk in as Winston, clear the turrets, walk out. Like, walk in, drop a bubble, clear turrets, walk out. Symmetra cannot then run forward and replace those turrets, because if she does, you just start dealing damage to her, and who gives a shit, and she has to sort of run forward to do so. So you can just sort of very steadily work around it. Also remember that your landing splash damage will kill turrets as well, so try and land on top of turrets if you can, because you will clear them away. I like Winston as anti-Symmetra.
Welcome to Overwatch.
Hey, got a lane. What the frig?
Appreciate the coaching you do for all of us nerds. Really enjoyable to watch you.
19 months? Are you fucking... You are probably my oldest sub. Jesus Christ, Gardelane. I wasn't even aware I've been around for 19 months. I'm going to have to make a 2-year badge. Just for you. Jesus. Just a PSA. If you have shield generator out, Winston is no longer her counter to her. He will destroy her nest, but she can 1 versus 1 him down. Yeah. I believe that actually works out. If she has the shield gen, then he can't quite kill her, at least not without good turret, no, without good barrier dodging, and even then it's quite difficult because she can build up charge on the barrier. If any other support is there, then she will lose. Like, the point of Winston isn't usually just to kill people; it's usually just to put reliable DPS on people. So if you just whittle her down, then you'll kill her. Once the shield gen is down, you have to be careful. Just be also very, like, do not engage Symmetra in 1 versus 1 if she's built up 120 charge. Get out, because then she will kill you. Is it worth it to put sim turrets on a moving payload? Yes, I think so. A lot of fights happen around payloads. If they're running a Genji or a Tracer, they want to get near the payload quite often, so they're going to take on a lot of damage on it. Just don't put them on the front, put them around the back, just because it's also very hard for you to set up ahead of the payload, so it's not really worth doing. And yeah, just don't be afraid of doing that sort of shit. Like what I would say is like try and put about 3 at least on the payload, and then try and put 3 elsewhere around the fight, just because if you have them all in one place, it's very easy to clear them off, for like a Winston, for example. But otherwise, like, yeah, fine. If 6 people die, Mercy is also dead. Yes, okay, thank you, smart artist. I get frustrated with, yeah, we did that one. How would you advise someone to play Roadhog on King of the Hill, where there is not always a defined front line, and the team's attention is split in different directions? You still just play more in your team. You're roaming a lot less, and you're more playing around. You're more using hook to punish bad positioning rather than just get kills outright. I've been considering doing this, and I think it's a really good idea. I think it'll actually work quite nicely. It's trying to do a video series on like simple definitions, and one of the ones I want to focus on most is the idea of punishment, or just punishing. I can barely read that because it's cursive on a mouse, but hey. And so the idea of Roadhog is the ultimate punishing machine. Loves his S&M, that lad. So what you're looking to do is, if you're the Roadhog and they have a Reinhardt barrier, Reinhardt's here, and someone runs in front of it, then you can instantly punish it with a hook. And the hook, you pull them even further out of position, and they can be punished even more. And so you can... So the old Roadhog used to punish them by just killing them. Now he just pulls them even further out of position. They can't get back into position, they're going to die. If the rest of their team is there. What used to be true for Roadhog is that he could put himself out of position, himself into a position where he could be punished, but because he's so tanky and durable, it's basically becomes like a DPS race of, can we kill the Roadhog before he kills our player? Or can we do significant enough damage where the Roadhog player will die if he does trade with our player? And that can become a good trade. Quite often the answer was no. Now it's going to be the case where the player might have abilities to get out of it, might have, Tracer can recall, Genji will deflect, all this kind of stuff can come up now. So it's going to be very hard to finish stuff. Unless like people jump in and sort of kill the... And I know that you can melee kill a lot of stuff with Roadhog now, like you can do the full combo and just get the melee kill. But even then, like that still gives people time to use deflect, gives time for people to combat roll back, for example, as McCree, it gives people time to do stuff. So it's going to be trickier. And I'd say Roadhog on King of the Hill it's going to be, again, like Nepal leaps to mind, for example, for me for some reason. So Nepal's Rhine, so this is the point with like the square, and you got the elephant is this way, the balcony is this way, got like the box thing, you got like this pathway that goes around the flank here, right? Like there's a doorway here, but like the square thing, whatever. The enemy team usually pushes this way, and as Roadhog, what you used to be able to do is, if you really wanted to, you can sort of come around here and you can start fishing for hooks. You can even go further towards their spawn and just like bounce around in this area. It'd be very, very hard to displace. So you could start fishing for hooks like through these attack angles. This will be a lot less effective. Like this will be a case of you hook them, and then they use an ability, and then the enemy team just runs over and ganks you. So what you're looking to do now is you'll probably be playing, instead of playing in these areas, you'll be playing more in these sort of areas, like more close to your team, and your team should generally be around the point, so you'll be playing more on the overlook here, trying to pull people in maybe, and get them onto the high ground or get them out of position. Pulling people just directly, or blowing up barriers directly, or playing a little bit more around sort of here, closer to your team, closer to where people can actually support you doing yes. So what really changes for Roadhog is just the positioning tucks in a lot. You'll be less of a single floating unit just doing stuff and more team oriented, which I think is better in the long term. Even though the nerf feels very harsh. Turrets at the spawn door for early charge. Connected as well. I'm still online, aren't I? Yes, I am. Turrets at the spawn door for early charge. What's your opinion on that? I quite like it. Just don't use all 6. If you use all 6 and the enemy team pushes in super aggressively, you're going to have problems. Is what I've generally found in my experience. If you like put all 6 turrets out to try and catch as much charge as possible, you're going to just... You're very vulnerable to the enemy team just speed boosting through and killing you. Don't want. So just put 3 up, get a bit of charge, and then put 3 in the main choke, just so you have enough time to just put 3 more down, and then you can defend easily. Otherwise what ends up happening is people just kill you. In your opinion, turrets spread out towards the choke. I see that often. Yeah, again, basic rule, no more than 3. Just because 3 turrets is enough to heavily slow someone. I think it's when the slow also might be enough to where putting more slow on it doesn't really matter too much at that point. And so, yeah, you can just sort of build. don't know why Overwatch is down. I knew why. I can see people are in game. My Battle.net's not connecting though. Feels bad, man. How should Lucio... Ooh, interesting question. Sort of coming out of nowhere, but it's actually a good one. How should Lucio ult differently on attack or defense? Defense ultimates are reactive. You generally want to wait for the enemy team to do something. So, actually, because you guys can't see the chat here, Samurai Velociraptor. How should a Lucio ult differently on attack or defense? On defense, your ultimates are more reactive. So the enemy team is trying to do something. They'll fight off an ultimate. They've done something to prompt you using it. So therefore, you use your ult. It could just be their Lucio sound barriers. It could be that they fire a graviton. It could be that they use some kind of ultimate attack visor, for example, nano visor. You're usually reacting to something. The reason why is because the enemy team is usually waiting or trying to bait out these ultimates. So when the teams are playing properly, like, and I'd say that this is more an issue at like diamond level, diamond master, probably less true at platinum and gold, but it's still kind of, the logic still works. So if you understand this stuff, then it really can carry you out of those areas. If, for example, the enemy team has a nano visor available, but they know that you have sound barrier, they are going to be reluctant to pull the trigger on the nano visor because they know that you're just going to sound barrier it, and so you're going to counter 2 ultimates with. So, if you use your sound barrier too aggressively, the enemy team can then know that they can use nano visor, and therefore they can win a fight. So you just having sound barrier available denies enemy team option. So as Lucio on defense, you want to be very careful about doing it. It's sort of true on offense, but on offense, you want to be more proactive. You want to use it more as you're engaging. And then, for example, if you engage with a Dragon Blade and a sound barrier, it's very hard to kill the Genji, very hard to get rid of the Genji. So you can do a lot with that. You can also just run your Reinhardt in. People can play more aggressively. And you usually prompt the enemy team to do some kind of response to it. The big thing I'll be careful with sound barrier is, like, if they have a Reinhardt ult, very, very difficult. Like, Shadow is just a really hard counter to sound barrier because he burns it off. EMP is big one. They have a Sombra. He's going to have EMP if she's playing competently. Do not sound barrier until EMP, because otherwise you will just give it something to the game. Like, it's the most valuable something you can ever get. Back! Boom. Unrelated Zarya question. Season 5 has been really rough for me as Zarya. She's my only good tank. I needed advice on how to use her better. It's going to be very hard to give you advice without seeing gameplay, but remember my 3 stages of Zarya, I think is the best advice I can give you. Step 1, building. Step 2, maintaining. Step 3, ultimate. So try and use your barriers aggressively while you're on low charge. Build up enough charge to where you're getting about 50 charge, or at least loading about 50 on average. Then you are maintaining. Use your barriers more conservatively. Use them when people are engaging. Use them more to react to stuff. You can afford to let energy burn down a little bit. And then step 3 is when you have your ultimate. Then you're going to be playing differently. Look to set up your ultimate. Try and get rid of divas. Try and avoid Genji deflects. Bait out Genji deflects. Get the ultimate in. Game. 3 steps to Zarya, I'd say, is just the generalist thing. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to do it. What do you do about teams that have a Symmetra and a Torb and already has their trick set up? I mean, most people in my teams don't know how to deal with it. Again, it's just being methodical. Like, it is a huge advantage to their team to get that set up. It's very difficult to deal with. Step 1, I'd say, is just get rid of the Torbjorn turret somehow. Like, get a Farah to shoot it from long range. Hanzo can shoot it from long range. Just clear it out. Get rid of it. Get rid of the Symmetra turrets. And you're basically just, like, for ticking off a checklist. So if you think about what makes their team powerful, if we make the to-do list, so to-do. Step 1, turrets. They're easy for you to deal with, they're not going anywhere, they're not moving anywhere. You know where they are, so just clear them out. Kill them, get rid of them. Step 2. I would say, like, this is Torbjorn and Symmetra turrets. Step 2 is look for picks or look for, like, ways to gain an advantage without fighting directly. Because the worst thing you could do is just try and take a big direct fight. Everyone on their team has 150 health more than your team, and if teams are relatively even, they are going to win. Like, you don't need to be a mathematics professor to know that if they have way more hit points than you on average, you are going to fucking lose. It's not complicated. So, why try and engage them super hard directly? Like, the mistake that I see people frequently make is like, oh yeah, let's blitz in and try and get a quick pick like, let's try and get a quick pick and let's try and just blitz them super hard. And then they run in and they get killed by the enemy turrets, they get killed by the people, like, they try and get a quick pick, but during that time, the enemy team's got 2 quick picks, because guess what? You have less health than they do. No shit, they're going to kill you faster. So the better advice is just to take it slow, try and burn away as much armor as possible. Step 2, I'd say, is just try and get rid of the shield gen. Like, this is probably the job for the main team, and then this is the, like, if you're playing Tracer or Genji or Pharah, this is your job. Find this, kill this, do 300 damage to their entire team, get rid of the shield generator, solve that problem. Symmetra then has to rebuild up. She's not going to be a huge issue anymore. Difficult, but it's worth doing. If you see that they're running Tourbillon Symmetra and you just pick Tracer, it's like a reflex. It's not a bad idea, because then you just build a pulse bomb. Symmetra puts down shield generator, you go in, pulse bomb it, get out, or recall out, or even if you die, absolutely work. And then step 3, I'd just say, is like grind. What I mean by grind is like Tourbillon does not have infinite armor packs, especially if there's no corpses. So if you just grind down their hit points in terms of like, if you grind through their barriers, you just pick people off, take it slowly, you have the advantage of having the initiative as an attacker. So if you see that it's not going well, pull back, heal up again, rebuild, keep poking. Their team doesn't do poke very well because they have a Tourbillon Symmetra. They might only have one support, for example, as well. So you might be able to just put pressure on that support or try and overwhelm their healing eventually. And so you just grind through them like that. I'd still say like the worst thing to do is just to try and dive into it, because when that happens, they are so durable that you're not going to get the kills. I'd say especially at like plat level, really not going to work well. And I think like the instinct that people have is like, oh yeah, no, if we just smash in and dive someone and blow them up super fast, it'll go great. But what ends up happening is the dive isn't perfect. Like, to make that work, the dive has to be perfect, and then they just lose because the enemy team has more points. Go figure. Let's see. I'm about to have dinner. Should I make sloppy joes or some hamburgers? Considering this question was asked about 12 minutes ago, I'll go with burgers, because I barely know what sloppy joes even are. They're more of an American thing. Sorry. I'll go with hamburgers. Burgers seem good. I had burgers today. I had 2 double cheeseburgers at McDonald's because I'm a fat bastard. And I literally yesterday for dinner, like this is my defense, yesterday for dinner I had a plate of pasta with some luxury. Problem is it won't necessarily even out. Statistics, it kind of will. You play enough, it'll even out enough to stop mattering. Oh, all the beautiful hype. How do you feel about Sombra EMP against a deeply rooted Symmetra with turrets? It's very powerful. Like, I'd actually say, in an answer, in a response to the previous question, if you're running, if they're running Tor Sim, why is my bandwidth just suddenly crapped itself? What is going on? The net. It's me. Am I disconnecting? Still connected to Overwatch apparently. Broadcast settings. Server. Try Stockholm again. Apply. Hovering. Might be back. God, this is so frustrating. You do a 24-hour stream for 2 years. I would never do a 24-hour stream. It's too risky. I would be willing to do like 2 12-hour streams, but I would never do a 24 block. It's asking for issues. People have died doing those. It's not worth doing. And I don't think it'll be fun after like the first couple of hours. I would just run out of energy and just be kind of boring. It was bad, man. The Sombra EMP I actually really like, so the Sombra bandwidth is fine again. Just refresh if you're having issues. But yeah, I think the Sombra pick is fine. Just make sure the team knows when you're EMPing, and then just EMP and EMP hard. Make sure you're catching the turret. The Tourbillon turret, so that if you Molten Cores, it's not going to do anything. And then, yeah, go with that. Is Arisa good for peeling? How do you peel with her as she is? She's so for peeling. Like, you have to get the peel with the right click. If you don't, then you'll basically have to use your entire barrier to try and peel for someone, and that's not worth it. Reinhardt's much better because you can just turn and block someone for a moment or two and then sort of let them tuck in. Arisa's a lot worse at it. I'd say that the right click is sort of the key. So if like a Genji is diving someone, you just slow them down with putting a right click in the right place and then hope that other people react and do something. Otherwise, she's not going to do well. One or two more questions and then we'll play some games. How should Lucio and Zen coordinate their ults with Res? Res I generally see as a last resort. It depends how vocal you are and how vocal your Mercy is. The advantage of Res is that it is very reactive and it's kind of obvious when it's happening. Hey!
Myself out over the anniversary event, but I'm back now. Let's see if comp is as bad as the YouTubers are saying it is. Kappa.
It's kind of bad. Not gonna lie. Season 5, I said this I think during the pre-show, but I think Season 5 is going to be the season of the one tricks. I think people are bored enough with Overwatch, or have played enough Overwatch, when they're now trying to just like force stuff, and yeah. Now music? Suddenly music. I don't know where music came in. I don't know where the music came from. Weird. Oh, I know. I know where the music came from. Okay, I need to solve that. I'll fix that. Sorry about that. I know where it came from, though. I can fix it. How should Lucio's, yeah, so how should Lucio and Zen coordinate their ults with res? The advantage of res is res comes after everything's done. Lucio Zen comes before everything's done, so usually if you react and use your ultimate, then Mercy won't use hers. Makes sense, right? Yeah. Sorry about the music, guys. But otherwise, if you like, if the Mercy is coordinating and you just say, if Mercy says, oh yeah, I have res ready, don't use anything. And then you just fight and die on the point, die in a timely fashion, and then Mercy comes in and reses you. You can then use your ultimate to clinch the fight if you need to, or you can just win the fight off the res. Like, you can then make a decision for that. Only plays Zarya if your team doesn't play a frontline team. Play the people dive in the back line. Bubble them. And then try and get stuck in as much as you can. Like, they're going deep, you need to go deep too. You need to be helping with the damage. Otherwise, let's do one more too. 24-hour stream. Yeah. It's right, yeah, that's about it. Okay then, that's actually a good point to finish it up. So, if you want to send in your footage, do send it in to oamreviews@gmail.com. Include in the title the hero name and the rank that you're at. If you're playing multiple heroes, just include all of them, or include like the main ones that you played. Include in the description as well, a little bit of a description about what you did. Thanks to Nibelung for sending in this video. Thanks for sort of tolerating, I don't know, me shouting at you for a while, I guess, about one-tricking, but hey, it needs to be done at some point. Hopefully it's somewhat useful in places. I think your Symmetra play is very greedy, and that gives me worries. And also just like think about main attack pass. Understand like where people are generally running, put the turrets up there ahead of time, and shield generator on King of the Hill, please. Unless you're already losing a fight, then you can put a teleporter down, but in general, shield generator is a better pick. Can you explain how Symmetra's place turrets on the cars on the Hollywood map? I don't know, I've never tried it. Like, people do stuff like, actually, like, this is a good thing to finish out on. Well, I'll do the outro, but I'll also do this very quickly. People do gimmicky stuff, and I'd never bothered to learn it, because if it's overpowered, then it will get nerfed, and otherwise I'll eventually pick it up. Usually my thoughts on stuff like this. So let's try it. Hollywood. We want to play, doesn't really matter. Let's start. So we want to go and have a look at Hollywood. Turn on some sound. So if you do want to send footage in, yeah, send it into oamreviews@gmail.com. If you want to come and join us live as well, instead of watching this on YouTube, it's a much better show live, like more exciting, more people in chat, more involvement, I guess. So come by and watch it live, 10 PM British time, Fridays and Saturdays. You can figure it out from there. It's 11 o'clock in most of Europe, and it's about 2 PM in California. You can figure it out from there. It's about 7 AM apparently in Australia. So yeah, good luck with that, Australia. Where is she?
The
okay.
true enemy of humanity is disorder.
A fancy skin. I haven't actually played Symmetra with the skin on. Weird. I do like the lotus motifs. I like my lotuses. Go figure. So then, let's try and put a turret underneath a car. So the usual suspects are like these ones. I don't know if there's a specific trick to it. I mean, normally, like, if I'm playing like a defensive Symmetra on this, what I'll usually do is, I won't go all the way to the door normally. I'll generally, like, put one here.
Sentry deployed.
One usually, like, over here somewhere. And then one over here. Or, like, one on the back of this, for example.
Turret in place.
So I'll just have those three up. And then I'll put those three up first, and then I'll put these up around the doorway. just to slow down any push that comes in. Then as those turrets are getting destroyed, I'll usually start over here, put a turret down sort of behind these boxes. It works quite well. Put one on here, and then usually just jump across and put one here, for example, and then get back to my team. So I can set up and play defensively over here. The danger I found that if you put all 6 out there is you can get trapped like putting turrets up over on this side. So you're trying to put turrets over on this side of the wall. What ends up happening is they are pushing through while you're stood here, and they all just turn and kill you. Good. You don't want that. Ah, feels bad, man. Otherwise, like under the car specifically, I don't know. Maybe chat has an answer. Yeah, let me bring chat to the side. I don't think I have it anyway. I'm 100 SR away from Diamond. I don't want to screw it. Any tips? Don't put too much pressure on yourself, honestly. If you can get there now, you can probably get there again at some point, even if it does go wrong, so don't overthink it. Play what you're comfortable with. Try and play what you're comfortable with, and have fun with it. What about the door on the left? Do you mean this door? Like the left exit? No one ever uses this. Unless you mean this door over here with the stairs. You gotta remember chat as well is like 15 seconds behind me. Probably even more now due to the lag spike, which is annoying. Otherwise, like over here, I'm not a big fan of. Like, you can have 1 or 2 up here, but I find if you put a bunch over here, like it doesn't work out. Oh, you mean the security door? I usually don't bother defending this, just because most of their push is going to come through here, and usually, like, I will be positioned about here. So if they start coming through here, I am the turret. Like, they are fucked. They cannot push through here if I am stood here. Yeah, like Nibelung said, like, can actually squeeze orbs through pretty effectively. Like, there's actually a lot of little cracks. I do this quite a lot when playing Widowmaker. I'll generally just fire a shot down here. You can do quite a lot of tricks, but yeah, otherwise I don't bother turreting this up too much. If they're playing like very flanker heavy, or if they're sort of taking control of this space here, then sure, I won't be afraid, but I usually focus on just getting turrets set up like here, on here, on here. Like, just shoving them on this wall, because this wall is very awkward to do. Then if I get very worried, I can put some back here, for example.
In place.
So that if they do push onto the point, they're going to be hit by turrets no matter where they go. Okay. That'll do it for Coaching the Many. Thank you for watching to the end. If you watch it on YouTube, thank you for joining me on Twitch. And we're going to play some games. Overwatch. Woohoo. Doodles. And they're gone. Boom. YouTube's gone. Hopefully. Hopefully I cut that right. Yeah, apologies about the music, guys. It's because of the background thing. This